So again, welcome to our tonight's presentation and panel discussion. We're delighted to have everybody here. This is Oakland's Diamond District, Past and Future. And with that, I will turn it over to the chair of the Diamond Improvement Association, Ryan Romaneski.
No idea.
Thanks, Jay. Hello, it's great to see everybody here. Thanks for joining the Diamond Improvement Association's October general meeting. I'm Ryan Romaneski, and I'm the current chair of the Diamond Improvement Association. And I am thrilled to be here tonight on behalf of the DIA and the entire Diamond District community. The DIA is a community-based 501c3 nonprofit organization with membership and participation open to all. For more than 65 years, the DIA has worked to bring together residents, businesses, local government, and other groups to make the Diamond a more vibrant, safe, and beautiful neighborhood in which to live, work, and play. And I'm thrilled to be here in part because, like many of you, much of the DIA's work has been upended by the pandemic these last 18 months, but we've persisted, we've worked hard to adapt our programs and ensure that we are able to continue to provide the services and the events like tonight that the neighborhood has come to expect from the DIA. Just a couple of recent celebrations, or a couple of recent successes that we're celebrating. This summer, we relaunched our twice weekly volunteer litter pickups in the Diamond and have continued to supplement those all volunteer efforts with paid cleaning services focused on litter pickup, illegal dumping, graffiti removal, pressure washing. Between our paid and our volunteer efforts, we are out in the Diamond every day of the year, making sure that the Diamond sparkles. In addition to hosting a series of online general meetings like this, we were thrilled this last July to welcome back in-person events, including the dedication of the beautiful new mural at the corner of Fruitvale and MacArthur, 2 outdoor movie nights, one of which you'll hear about here shortly, that's coming up this Friday, and then a wildly successful pint-sized version of Oktoberfest, which we were excited to bring back at the beginning of this month. Finally, a number of board members and volunteers in the Diamond have been busy canvassing our community regarding issues of public safety, collecting nearly 200 responses to a public safety survey. The results of that survey will not only drive our ongoing work of making the Diamond a safer, more welcoming neighborhood, but will also inform our advocacy with the city of Oakland regarding the investments in public safety that the Diamond wants to see. These are obviously just a few of the exciting projects, and I'm excited for what's next, because we've got a busy couple of months coming up with a very active board and group of volunteers. Next slide, please. Great.
You skipped one.
No, that's great.
Oh, okay.
That's great. Yeah, obviously we couldn't have the impact we do without the support of people like you. So if you are on this Zoom and you're not yet a member or not yet a volunteer and you're interested in getting involved in the work of the DIA, please consider becoming a member for just $25 or making a donation through our website, diamondnews.org. If you prefer to give your time and energy, then you can also sign up to volunteer with the DIA and support our regular events and programs. Thanks. With that, I'll turn it back to Jay.
Cool. I will just give a brief pitch for the outdoor movie night, unless Kevin Whittinghill, I thought I saw you on. Would you like to say a word or two about that?
Sure, I can say a word or two about that. Yeah, we have The Nightmare Before Christmas is screening in the parking lot of the Diamond Public Library at 6:30 p.m. this Friday. Come out. We'll have some candy there. There'll be popcorn, soda. Bring a chair, grab some food from a Diamond restaurant or drink, and enjoy the spectacular Nightmare Before Christmas. The weather should be good, knock on wood, and it's not that long of a movie if you have young ones, so it probably will last till around 7:45 or so, 7:50. So please come out and enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, with that, I will turn it over to our moderator, Heather Harris.
Thanks, Jay. I'm Heather. For those of you I haven't met, a neighbor, Dimond member, and somewhat volunteer sometimes. So as Jay said, happy to help moderate our panel tonight. Looking forward to reflecting a little bit on the past of the Dimond, and then spending a few minutes looking towards the future, particularly excited to hear from some business leaders in the Dimond to tell us a little bit about what's going on from their perspective. Please feel free to put any questions in the chat. I'll do my best to get those directed to the right person as we get started here. And I think we're actually going to kick it off with back to Jay, who's just going to do a really brief little history for us before we kind of get into some of the other community leaders.
Great. Thank you so much, Heather. I am actually filling in for somebody we were hoping to have who has many decades living here in the Dimond and is a true historian of this area. So I'm going to fill in and do my best in that person's absence. So we're going to start off, as you can see here, with a picture on the right of Hugh Dimond, after whom our neighborhood was named. He lived in the mid to late 1800s. But before we get to Hugh Dimond, let's take a look at a little bit earlier history. So before European settlers arrived in this area, this was populated by Ohlone people, and there were two villages, one near Trestle Glen, the current Trestle Glen area, and then one further up near Holy Names University. And kind of about halfway in between those two areas was what we know today as Diamond Canyon and Salsal Creek. And as you can see from this topographical map, Salsal Creek is fed by three upstream creeks: the Palo Seco Creek from the area in Joaquin Miller Park these days, Cobbledick Creek from the Piedmont Pines area, and finally Shepherd Creek from what is now Shepherd Canyon. So under Spanish settlement, a huge chunk of land, essentially stretching from El Cerrito all the way down to San Leandro, was granted to Luis Peralta in the 1820s. And at some point in the 1840s, he chunked up his holdings a little bit and parceled different pieces of it out to his sons. And so Antonio Peralta got the area that we all now live in. So a young Irishman, probably escaping some pretty severe conditions in Ireland in the mid-1800s, came at the ripe age of New York to, at the ripe age of 14 to New York City, and his name was Hugh Dimond. He worked in New York for a few years and heard some rumblings about gold out in them thar hills out in California, and made his way out to California around 1850 and set up shop in Mariposa. Along with a couple of partners, he opened up a general store and opened up a liquor wholesaling business, which, as you may not be surprised, did very well in the mining communities in the Sierra Nevada. So Hugh made some money as a businessman and then came down to the Bay Area and purchased about 260 acres of what we now call Diamond Canyon. And we're in the lower Diamond Park area, set up a very large estate. So he passed on at the age of 65 in 1896 and bequeathed the land to his son, who ended up selling what is now Diamond Park back to the city in 1917. So fast forwarding into the 1900s, if you were to stand in the parking lot of what today is 7-Eleven at MacArthur and Lincoln, and you were to look down the hill along MacArthur, was previously called Hopkins Street, this is what you might have seen 120 years ago. So as you can see, and we'll see in a moment here, there were a handful of business establishments already in the area, and a handful of beer gardens. So over here was the original Altenheim that was built in 1894. Was built by a group of German American citizens and was meant as a retirement home. Originally was supposed to be in San Francisco, but people were complaining that it was too cold and foggy in the summer, so they came to the sunny side of the bay and built the Altenheim in 1894. It actually burned down in 1908 and was rebuilt in its current form 2 years later. So here is a crude map of some of the businesses that existed on the Hopkins Fruitvale corridor here, or intersection, I should say. You can see the number 1 here, kind of over by Salso Creek, where the Southern Cafe now stands, is Charlie Tepper's Hotel. And this is actually still standing. You can see it, it's behind the 2-Star Market, and it's now a private residence today. You can also see what is now Dimond Avenue, was essentially the entrance to Hugh Dimond's land and his home. Fast forward about 20 years, the Dimond was blessed with a ritzy looking movie theater on Fruitvale Avenue, which was operating for about 25 years before it was torn down. And then as you can see, it is now the home of Farmer Joe's on Fruitvale. A little bit forward here, this is a great photo from around 1940 looking southeast along MacArthur, and where you see radio and electrical appliances is now the Wells Fargo. This drugstore is now the T-Mobile. And you can also see there were key streetcar systems along Hopkins/MacArthur at that point, which were, I believe, dismantled in the early 1950s. One other landmark I wanted to point out, so we are now looking west on Fruitvale toward 580, which by this time, I believe this was late 50s or early 60s, had been built. And you can see Safeway at the time was facing Fruitvale. And here's the post office. And then I just wanted to call your attention to Dimond Bowl. This was operated from 1946 to late 70s or possibly 1980. Operated by a gentleman named Sam Schecht and later by his son. Sam Schecht was kind of a prominent bowler, and he ran and managed a bunch of bowling leagues in the 50s and 60s. So that site was bought by Dimond Printers around 1985, and you can see the bowling lanes inside the printing shop. I got the chance to see this property myself when it changed hands in 2016, I believe it was. And it's really, really cool inside. And so now this building is owned by a doctor and a businessman who has renovated the building. As was mentioned earlier, the DIA had a hand in commissioning this mural, which now overlooks the B of A parking lot. This artist, Robin Gibson, painted it. And if everything goes according to plan, in early next year, this building, at least the ground floor, I believe, will be the home to Popoka Restaurant, coming to the Dimond very soon. And that's it. Happy to take if anyone has questions or comments, thoughts about any of this.
Thanks, Jay.
Anything in the chat, Heather?
Nope,
No?
not seeing any questions.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
thank you for that.
I have a question. I have a comment that you may have missed. This is Stephen Johnson. Let me get my video going. I've lived in Dimond. I'm in Laurel now, but it's since 1948. And I remember the Dimond movie theater. And also the original Casper's was where the MacArthur Freeway goes over Fruitvale. It was literally a hot dog stand, which is now up on MacArthur and Wilson. And was a thriving business. And right across the street was Dimond roller rink, which was extremely busy, especially during the summer when we were out of school. But just to add those in, that's why I signed on tonight when you said you were going to talk about the history of Dimond. So that's okay.
I wish I'd had your name and number prior to giving this. This would have been much better coming from you, but.
Well, the intersection of Fruitvale and Hopkins, and I remember when it changed to MacArthur. That was when General MacArthur came back from Korea after being fired by President Truman, and the city renamed Hopkins MacArthur Boulevard, and what is now West MacArthur Boulevard was Moss Avenue, and it all became MacArthur. But the intersection at Fruitvale, that drugstore was King's Rexall, and kitty quarter from it, where the pizza place was Guy's Drugstore for years and years, and it had a good lunch counter in there. The appliance store was Clinics Appliances, and there was a dentist upstairs. But I remember Clinics Appliances because his granddaughter was in my brother's class at Fruitvale. But and then the Bank of America used to be up on the corner, but Wells Fargo took over American, what was the name of it? Trust Company, I think it was, and they expanded and, to the corner when Mr. Clinic died and the store closed. But Dimond has a good long history, and I guess I've been around too long. I don't know, but.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that insight.
Well, I'm down there all the time. I still have my P.O. box at the post office, and and I'm constantly reminded. I know at high school reunions, everybody tells where they've been, and I say I'm still here. But anyway, for what it's worth, thank you for the history, and
thank you.
Let's get on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cool. Anything else, Heather? Or I don't know if we have time for maybe one or.
Yeah, and actually, Jay, it looks like how the Zoom is set up, the messages might be going directly to the administrator, so I might not have access.
Oh, okay.
To see. So apologies if that's
no problem. Let me see if I can move that here. If there's anything. I have a couple of comments here. Let's see. All right. Mostly just comments. One person chimed in, said, "Don't forget Newberry's," and the other 5 and dime. All right, fantastic.
For years, the 5 and dime was where it's in the middle of the block. It's now hair stuff for whatever, but that was the 5 and dime for years and years. I still have an eraser I paid a nickel for there.
Fantastic.
Okay. Next up, we are gonna put it over to Chris Harper for the next few minutes, and I will try and keep us on track as well. Chris has been a resident of the Dimond for many years, currently serves on the board of the Dimond Improvement Association, and in his day job teaches physics at Head Royce School. So Chris is going to share just a little bit about his perspective living in the Dimond for many years.
Thank you, Heather. Yes, I thought big, and I'm sorry for not having graphics. The brainstorming that I've done, though, over the last couple of days as I procrastinated writing midterm reports for my students has been wonderful. And one of the things was I couldn't remember the name of the 5 and dime that I was so excited about when I moved into the Dimond in 1986. It's like, cool, they have a classic 5 and dime. And so now I know.
It was Sprouse Reeds. Sprouse Reeds
Sprouts.
with the 5 and dime.
Okay. And what was Newberry's?
I don't remember a Newberry's in Dimond.
Okay.
Newberry's
Yeah.
was downtown on Broadway. If I
So
remember
I'll,
right.
I'll have to look that up.
Dimond was Sprouse Reeds, and it's right
All right.
across the street from where Chase Bank is now.
So I was going to talk about the Pleistocene for a while, but given that we're rushed for time, I'll skip ahead. I'm very much a post 580 baby. I was born in 1962 in Alta Bates Hospital, and lived in Pleasant Hill for a few years, and then lived over in Proctor in Upper Rockridge, and a lot of my childhood was in Montclair Park. But I remember the Dimond from the 70s because my grandmother lived on Diamond Avenue, and we would visit on a regular basis. And I remember vividly the Norge sign of the Norge Cleaners that is now a vacant lot across from GLK and Club 2101 and Quarter Pounder. And I never could quite figure it out. It seems sort of spacey, space age or something to me. But I also remember from that that early time, and when I was a child, that there was a big Mexican restaurant. This is another business establishment that I remember quite well, but I can't remember the name of, where La Hacienda is now. And it was a Mexican restaurant back then. And I remember families taking my friends and I there for big sit-down dinners and so forth. But the 70s seemed to be a time of, everything was really bustling. And I remember the bowling alley, because as I grew older and went to Montera and Skyline, bowling alleys were on my mind. And there was the Diamond Bowling Alley and Piedmont Avenue, where I did most of my bowling, and College Avenue Bowl. And they seemed that the neighborhoods, bowling alleys were much more common. But really, I settled in the Dimond in 1986 after graduating from college. And at that time, I'll picture a walk. I got an apartment on Pleasant Street, and I would walk through the St. Jarlath campus over to, I think CVS was there at the time, and Lucky's was where Farmer Joe's is now. And a lot of my memories can be sort of business established memories. So there was the Lucky era, then there was probably some vacancy. Then there was the dollar store era, same property. And then there was, after the dollar store, eventually Farmer Joe's came in. And so those were all periods of time. At that time, there was a breakfast place where Nama is, another name I can't remember. But when I would have friends over to my apartment, we would get up in the morning and I would proudly pay for our $12 breakfast, all told. And so that was a thing. And then looking across the street there was a building which is sort of a vacant area between Pete's and the Shell station. And there was a sort of mostly a vegetable store in there. And so I would get vegetables there. Walking down the street, of course, we've established that it was Sprouts Reeds, which I seem to remember when somebody mentioned Newberry's as a 5 and dime. That didn't match my name. What my thought was that it had sort of two things, but again, it harkened back. It added history for me as a child of the 70s or 60s and 70s. It was like, oh man, this is classic Americana. And you could go in there and get fabric and all the other things that 5 and dimes offer. That is long gone now. Going further down the street, some things I remember, if I turn left on MacArthur, where GLK is now, was a smorgasbord. And that smorgasbord was there in the 70s when I visited my grandmother, but it was also there in 1986. And was a place that I went to eat. And it was the sort of classic, what I think of as Americana establishments. You would eat there. And then of course, Quarter Pounder was still across the street at that time, still is. It's been around, I don't know. I'd love to look up and see when Quarter Pounder entered the neighborhood. And so the post office and things were there and things went back and forth. And really that's my memories of the 80s. Some other events that I remember from living this long is I got involved with the DIA probably 2010 or so, but prior to that, for quite a few years, there were two big events that the DIA was involved in, and I was an outsider always debating whether to become a member, was the Hillcrest Motel at Lincoln and MacArthur, which was a notorious establishment and was a source of lots of unpleasantness. And the DIA was, I think, principal in helping that to get moved out of the way, but it took many years. And then the other thing was the period of time when the post office was going to be eliminated, and there was a major campaign to save the post office. So my legacy view of the DIA is these major sort of help or organization within the community to do things that help make what the community is today. We still have a post office, we have a beautiful library, and a beautiful senior center where the Hillcrest Motel was before that. And then beyond that was the opening of Farmer Joe's, and that has led to the era that we're probably all familiar with. Since a lot of us probably are involved in owning homes, perhaps, seems that way, I'll tell the story of when I was living in the apartment and then met my future wife at the Lawrence Hall of Science, and she moved into the Alhambra Manor, which is over on Schuyler Street. And I was told that that building was moved from the 580 area over to Schuyler Street, over towards Coolidge. And we managed that building and saved up enough money to try and buy a house, but they were really expensive. And so we found this house on Excelsior, and it was $229,000. And we didn't quite have that, but the people liked it so much. So this is 94, right? The people saw us or something, they liked how we looked. And we got a call that they had lowered the price to $219,000. And we replied that we're sorry, we've been saving so much and so hard. The best we can do is $209,000. And so that's what we paid for the house that we're still living in today, which may be worth $1 million. But that was a very different period of time in the early 90s, different economy. But the real estate story is always amazing to me. That's it. Jay, did you get any comments? Any more information, or did I make any mistakes?
No. Thank you for sharing. There's a quirk with the chat. For some reason, they seem to be coming to me only, but I'll just, somebody had a comment that the Lincoln Motel was originally built to serve the Mormon temple. Thank you for the Newberry correction. There was the Sprouse, Reitz, and the other on MacArthur. Both magical to us little people. And Jimmy's Butcher Shop. Thank you, Chris. Any other questions folks want to throw in chat? And I don't know why this isn't broadcasting to everybody. I apologize for that.
You know, if I may, mentioned a building moved from where 580 crosses Fruitvale that building that has the accountant or whoever it is in the corner, half of it was cut off, which is now Harold Street. And that was moved down Champion. And it's located about one lot from Nickel Avenue on Champion. And it is an apartment. Is that what you may have been thinking of instead of Schuyler Street? Because Schuyler is 1 block long between Cap and Cuthbert. That's where I grew up.
Ah, no, we were definitely on Schuyler, in the middle of Schuyler Street, across from the Hells Angels.
Okay, then that's been developed since I lived there. But but I grew up on Cap Street, so that neighborhood. That's my old paper route, Schuyler.
Oakland Tribune?
Yeah, we did it after school every day.
Me too, up on Proctor.
Oh, okay.
All right, that's all I'm seeing. I'm getting one technical piece of advice here, but I'll work on that on the side. So Heather, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Jay. Gotta love technical issues. Awesome. Well, we'll move on to our next panelist. One more reflection on the past before we jump into the future. We're grateful to have Frances Biannotti here. As many of you know, she's lived in the Dimond for many years, and she and her husband Frank are the former owners of Anne's Cafe, which serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner to Dimond residents for decades, where Pete's Coffee is now on Fruitvale. I think Jay has some photos to share, and we'll let.
I don't know how to get.
Am I on, Heather?
You're on. We're ready for you.
Well, this last gentleman that talked, I want to address something to him. He ate at Mel's restaurant, which is owned by Mel Sylvester. And he's the man that came over and taught us how to run a restaurant, because we never had one before. But he could have eaten at my restaurant for a lot less than $12.
I did
so that's
eat
my
at your
comment to him. He
Yeah.
missed my restaurant completely.
I
Huh?
did eat at your restaurant once,
That-
but I'm a small man, and the stack of pancakes was bigger than I was. So I was a little
That's no
scared.
excuse. Oh, no.
All right, well, so
could
you
have
probably
taken it
told me
home.
at the time.
That's okay, honey. You didn't mention my restaurant, and I was there for 42
I
years.
was leaving you to bring it on, but I
Oh,
forgot.
well, I'll give you a pass, honey. I'll give you a pass.
I've heard more about your restaurant, and then when I tell people I live in the Dimond and they're aware, people from all over the Bay Area have mentioned your restaurant. That's how they remember the Dimond.
Well, I had a nice clientele. Mhm. But when we took over that restaurant, 1958, we had 2 jewelry stores. We had 2 hardware stores. We had Moto Day Dress Shop, which we were going to buy that business next to the Bank of America. So everything that you have described, the Mexican restaurant, I do not know. It was called the Diamond Horseshoe, which was very, very popular. It was called the Diamond Horseshoe, excellent steakhouse. So I could just tell you that by looking on who's on this, speaking on this site now, that my future is, I'm happy to see these young faces, because that's who's that's our future. The young ones are our future. So, and I see good things happening to Dimond. I've lived on Lyman Road up here for 58 years. And I see a good future ahead of us. So we just need the young people more to get involved. Okay. And as far as my restaurant, I was never robbed. And my claim to fame is Mr. Guy Schaefer, which owned the Guy store. When we bought that restaurant, there was no business. And he would bring his warehouse people in to eat with us. And then we got a good clientele. But anyway, I had the very, very poorest, and I had the very, very richest eat with me. And I was never robbed in 42 years. I left the door open thinking that I locked it. So all I have to say was we had a good run and it was a wonderful district. Arnold Schecht, I graduated with him from Oakland High. And he is the one that took the father's bowling alley, and he was also my neighbor. So a lot of these people, they go back many, many years, and some of them are still alive. So anything else you want to ask is fine. And some of these pictures of the restaurant bring a lot of memories.
So
Yeah.
I want to ask about my recollection of eating there. First of all, the black and white picture that I see on the left here, it was like that all the time or more crowded. And
Yes.
so that's one reason I may have gone to Mel's across the street. The other thing is you were just on fire, not literally, in there preparing breakfast. And the story, I was told that what happens is you go in and the Italian restaurants, they might give you a little cup of wine or something while you wait for your food. You'd sit down, you'd want a big breakfast, and Anne would come over and put a plate of pancakes in front of you, say, eat these while you wait. And it was just a standard part of the experience. And people, it was more than a restaurant. It was an experience. People just loved it.
Well, you know what? I was blessed. My husband didn't work with me just to the end. He was 38 years a buyer for Safeway stores. So I was always blessed. If somebody did not have money, I did not charge them. I fed them. I fed a few people every day for nothing. I had a man for 42 years come by every day for $1. And then when he retired, when we retired, this little homeless man, whatever he found in the street, it's a little brooch or a little pin, I'd throw it in his box. When I retired, I looked at that box. I had, what was it, Frank? A Tiffany?
Yeah, so something.
I found a Tiffany watch in there. So I have many, many good stories, but my favorite story is, and I think I told Jay when we did a rerun, that when we bought that restaurant, our rent Guy's drugstore, Mr. Guy Schaefer charged $125 a month. Okay, when we retired in the year 2000, our rent was $275. It should have been $2,700. So this is why the community was good to me. So I gave back. And so that's why I gave an abundance of food. And sometimes if people were sick after work, I would bring them food. So my claim to fame is I love the people and I gave them all my heart. I had wonderful, wonderful experience there. And I didn't know who this man was sitting at the counter. And the police and fire, public works, they all ate with me. They even came to the house. Sometimes if I was raped, they even give me a ride down the hill. So I have to say, the community has been good to me. They have. And so I have nothing but good thoughts. This one man that was sitting there, the police came in and said, do you know who that man is? I said, no, I don't. Well, it was Joe Torres. And I said, who is Joe Torres? So anyway, which we all know who he is. We all know who he is. But every time he came to the Bay Area, because he was announcer for Channel 2, he would come to see me. He sent me his picture. So I had a lot of nice people that ate with me. I don't know if you guys remember, David Letterman, their production staff called me. They wanted to do a show. Remember when he did San Francisco? Well, I was on his Oakland tour, but the production staff told me that I had to act right. You're telling me I have to act right in my own business? I said, I don't want him. So the Montclarian put in the newspaper that Francis Biennale rejects, David Letterman. I did. Yeah. So, and I did a lot of TV shows. I did a lot of those, which brought in too much business because my regular customers, they were sort of shunned out. But anyway, so if anybody has any other questions, that's it. I don't want to take too much time because I know there's other people that want to speak, Yeah. But anyway, and like I say, the police and fire are still in my life. I'm still very connected with them. And when Dick Spees in Public Works, they named, the Biennale Way, was quite an honor. And I have to tell you that when we retired, Oakland Police Department sent a 5 motorcade up here for the family and 2 limousines, escorted us to Francesco's restaurant, to 200 people waiting to honor us. So the community has been good to me. So that's it, honey. If you guys have any questions, I'm yours.
I'm seeing one here.
I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know if this is directed to you or perhaps to others who have been around. Any memories of the movie theater or what it looked like inside? I don't know if anyone's able
No, my mother never allowed me to go. I'm from, no, I never did go.
Yeah.
No.
I used to go to the matinee there every Saturday. The building is still there. Joe's, when Lucky's bought it, they changed the front. They took the sign down and where the entrance was. In fact, I was talking with Joe when he moved in, and because I go into his store up at 35th, and we were talking, and I told him it was an old movie theater, and he kind of looked at me and he said, that explains it. They were doing a deep cleaning and found movie posters way back from the 30s, way back down, in the building. But the theater, you entered from Fruitvale, and there was a ticket booth that stood by itself. You went through the door, and it was just the one big theater, and 2 side sections and a center section. There was a stage down front. In fact, if you look at the building now, if you look at the back, you can see how it's much higher, and that's where the screen and everything was. The matinees, Saturdays, during the season, they would have yo-yo contests, and some of us would get up on stage and do our yo-yo tricks. But it was just a basic big movie theater, and it had the big screen down front, and the projection room was back, up high on at the Fruitvale end of the building. It was a fun theater.
Thank you.
Sorry to see it close.
That's all I'm seeing in the chat right now, so I will go ahead and stop sharing. And Heather, back to you.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing those stories and memories. It's very, very nice to hear. We're going to kind of switch gears and move on to talking a little bit about the future of the Dimond District, with the focus, of course, on the commercial area, as we've been talking about so far. And we're going to actually start by hearing again from Ryan, the chair of the Dimond Improvement Association, to talk a little bit to us about some potential business improvement initiatives with the city of Oakland that are underway.
Great. Thanks, Heather. And thank you again to everybody who's already shared stories about the Dimond. For somebody who moved here 5 years ago, it's great to hear a lot more about the neighborhood that existed and the vibrancy that existed in our commercial district. When I moved to the Dimond in 2016, one of the things that first stood out to me were all the activities in the neighborhood. At the time, there was a summer program called Art in the Street, and then Oktoberfest was in September, and folks were out picking up litter every week, and there were a number of people on my block I live up by Sequoia, a number of people on the block who were part of the weekly litter pickup. And when I would ask around who's organizing this event or who's putting on the litter pickup, what I kept hearing the same thing. What I kept hearing over and over again was that's a program of the Dimond Improvement Association. So that was really what first drew me to the DIA and what really prompted my interest in joining the DIA board in 2017. In my time on the board, I've seen firsthand what an organization like the DIA can do. In many ways, the DIA often is picking up slack for the city of Oakland, who has over the years increasingly demonstrated an inability to provide a number of basic services or address issues of public concern in neighborhood commercial districts like the Dimond. So as a result, it's the DIA and groups like the DIA that are ensuring the litter is picked up and the graffiti removed from buildings, and that it's helping to promote neighborhood businesses, and that's investing in public safety or public art in the neighborhood, not the city of Oakland. I've also seen in my time on the board how difficult it is to provide services like that, many of which the community of the Dimond have come to really expect and rely upon in an all volunteer organization that relies primarily on a small amount of membership dues and a single large event, which we learned this last year is very susceptible to pandemic related disruptions. And so, while the DIA has been around for more than 65 years and has accomplished a lot in that time, many of our programs are run on a shoestring, and a number of them are surprisingly tenuous. Our ability to deliver on some of the programs can be dramatically impacted by circumstances like we've seen in the last couple of years, or the last 18 months, feels like a couple of years. This year, for the first time since I've joined the board, we seriously discussed the possibility of having to scale back Keep Dimond Clean, which we already had gone from 2 days of volunteer pickup a week to 1, because it is really, really difficult to run a program that is responsible for picking up litter, either through volunteers or paid service, 365 days a year with a volunteer coordinator. So in the last year, the DIA has been working with the city of Oakland to explore ways to better sustain the great work that the DIA and other groups in the Dimond are doing by exploring what is called a business improvement district in the neighborhood, and exploring the possibility of forming a business improvement district in the Dimond. For folks who don't know, and I'm happy just to give a brief overview and then take any questions, because I could definitely go down a rabbit hole on business improvement districts, but BIDs, as I'll call them for shorthand, are essentially public-private partnerships that provide services like the services I described earlier in a specific commercial area or neighborhood like the Dimond. They're typically managed by either a nonprofit or a for-profit entity composed of private businesses, property owners, residents. But the public part of public-private partnership is it requires local government approval to form and operate. The city of Oakland has a long history with business improvement districts, a more than 20-year history, and business improvement districts like the one that we are exploring forming in the Dimond exist in a number of Oakland neighborhoods, from Lake Merritt to Jack London Square, Koreatown, Northgate, and then closer to us here, the Laurel, Montclair, and then even Lakeshore. A business improvement district does essentially what the business and property owners in the neighborhood want, and what they identify as the greatest needs in the neighborhood. So things like litter removal, graffiti abatement, neighborhood safety, business promotion, business development, neighborhood marketing events. They're also an active voice in advocating for the neighborhood with local government, with the city of Oakland, with our local council member. In other words, BIDs serve a very similar purpose to to organizations like the DIA and the DB and PA, which you'll hear about in a little bit. The primary difference is that rather than relying on membership dues and events to fund the work of the organization, to fund the programs the organization sponsors, a business improvement district includes a long-term sustainable revenue stream that helps ensure that programs are funded from one year to the next and not susceptible to things like pandemics and other, other kind of external disruptions. To form a business improvement district, a community like the Dimond typically starts with a feasibility study to assess the likelihood that a business improvement district could be formed that would be large enough to provide the services that those in the neighborhood say they want. We submit a petition to the city, and we showing that we are likely to be able to form a business improvement district that could do what we need it to do. And then ultimately, after a series of kind of city steps and approvals, it comes up for a vote of the impacted property owners in a neighborhood. Business improvement districts are generally raise money from property owners through assessments based on the size of the property. That covers not just private property owners, but also property owned by City of Oakland, Oakland Unified, BART, Caltrans, et cetera, if they own property in the district. And then in return, property owners, the folks who sit on the board, have more control over what services are offered in the neighborhood. Things like litter pickup, things like economic development. So I'm thrilled to be part of an organization like the DIA that is working right now with a number of property owners and business owners in the city of Oakland to explore whether this is a real possibility in the Dimond, and whether we can follow in the successful footsteps of a number of other neighborhoods that have successfully formed business improvement districts over the last few years, including most recently the Chinatown neighborhood. When I listen to the stories of folks like Francis, it's great to see you, and the incredible energy that existed in the Dimond, I feel really confident that that future is possible again in the Dimond, and building on the successes of recent additions to the neighborhood that we've already seen, like Bombera and Grand Lake Kitchen, who we'll hear from shortly, and also some of our well-established businesses here who've continued to grow and thrive in the neighborhood. Happy to take any questions that anybody has about business improvement districts or the work that the DIA is doing in support of that effort.
I do see one question or comment here in the chat. Forming a business improvement district to maintain litter pickup seems to reward those communities that have private businesses and leave those who don't a mess, and raises equity issues.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not sure I understand. Not sure I understand the question, unless the comment is that we should be advocating for citywide improvements in and services, which certainly we do. You know, I think that a business improvement district, and they are certainly formed in not just in neighborhoods like the Dimond, but in you know, neighborhoods that serve a diversity of businesses, like the Fruitvale, like Chinatown. There are a number of other East Oakland communities that are also seeking to form these commercial areas or these business improvement districts. The goal is really to invest in the commercial area as an anchor to broader investments in the neighborhood as a whole.
I was going to make that
I'm
comment.
also,
And I get why they exist and that they serve a real purpose. I just think it really does make it much easier for communities that have the means to have business districts and organize, et cetera, to have cleaner neighborhoods. So I would love to see advocacy towards the city to encourage cleanup everywhere.
Thank you for that, Judy. Any other comments, Jay, from in the chat? I know we're up at our 8 o'clock hour, so we can also kind of move on to our last two speakers, not to rush things. So if there are questions, please chime in. But Callie, we may turn it over to you now. Callie and her partner Bree are co-owners of the Hive Cafe, the place to be on MacArthur. Callie also serves on the Dimond Business, or serves as chair on the Dimond Business and Professional Association, a local merchants association. So Callie's here to speak a little bit to that organization and sort of its role in our community. So I'll turn it over to you, Callie.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Callie. If you haven't met me yet in the cafe, please come anytime and say hi. Me and my wife owned a Hive for 8 years now, which seems impossible, but it has been a long time. We lived in the neighborhood for 11 years, and we opened our cafe here because we just loved the neighborhood and we wanted to provide this specific sense of community and coffee and quality in our neighborhood, and not to keep leaving it for those things that we were seeking. I love owning a business in the Dimond. Everyone that moves over here, this is one of the first places they come to. And I always tell them the best thing about this neighborhood is that it feels like a small town in a big city. So you really, when people come from the neighborhood to the different businesses, you see the same people over and over again. And I literally saw friendships form in front of my eyes that lasted for years and years. So I feel like our neighborhood is very special and unique in that way. That being said, I also, when Francis said, I was never robbed for 22 years, and I was like, what? I was robbed twice. And I have broken windows every 6 months. I need to replace windows in my cafe because they're broken. I was broken into 4 times in the last 8 years. So, and it's a theme that we keep hearing from our merchant members. One of the things that has been difficult for the DBNPA is to really address the needs of merchants, because the main need is safety. It's really the main thing that business owners care about, but I feel that everyone who lives in Oakland cares about is safety and This is not something that we can solve on a local basis. It's definitely something that organizations can apply pressure on the city, but it has to be a priority for the city to solve the level of crime that we have in all the neighborhoods in Oakland, regardless of they have businesses or they don't have businesses. People are not safe in their homes. Like if you're on Nextdoor, like I was on Nextdoor for a while and I basically stopped getting all the messages because it's scary when you're aware of how much is happening in your city in terms of crime and violence right now. And definitely the pandemic has had a huge impact on it, but it's hard for me at least to feel like the city government really cares about those issues. That's not something that I have felt for a long time. So in terms of the future and where we're going from here for the Dimond, it's really fascinating to hear the stories about the Dimond. And I feel like we need to have more intention around creating establishments and events that bring people to the Dimond and just make the Dimond an institution. So just like Anne's Cafe was an institution that people would specifically drive to the Dimond to go to. I feel like the more and more businesses like that we can attract, the more vibrant this area will become. Before I moved to this area, I didn't know it existed. So just seeing the trend, that definitely places like GLK and Bombera and Popoca that is going to open up, and the more and more businesses like that we can bring in that would make this area real. You will have a real draw to come here even if you don't live here. That would, I think, be the most helpful thing for our business to grow, but also to have to apply more pressure on the city to do something with safety in our neighborhood. Is just so important. Part of the things that our partnership brought up, the DIA and the DBPA, is having cameras in our neighborhood. And even having cameras is not sufficient to increase the level of safety and security that we provide to the residents and to the businesses around here. So, you know, one thing that I always say is that if you want something, you have to make it happen. It's never enough to just say, oh, this is what should be done. You need to think about ways of how you can do it. Because if you're not going to do it, no one else is. And I feel like a lot of the people in the DIA understand this. And that's, I'm assuming, why partly you're active on the DIA, because if you have a vision or if you want something to happen, you need to put the work to make it happen. And for me, the mural is the best example of that. I wanted that to happen for many, many years, and I put the work, and now it's here. So it's really important to have people with vision and with the dedication to put the hours in and make things happen. And we definitely have a lot of people like that in our community. We're very lucky that's the case. And that's it for me.
Thanks,
Great.
Callie, for your perspective. Were there any comments, Jay?
There were a couple leftover comments about the BID process, which maybe we can save till the end if folks like, and then we can continue. I don't see any specifically directed to Callie at this time.
Okay, thanks, Callie, and everyone visit the Hive. Okay, our last panelist, May Seto. We've heard about, Grand Lake Kitchen has come up a couple times, so happy to have you here to give your perspective on being a new-ish business owner in the Dimond, and what drew you here and what you're hoping for the future.
Well, hi everyone. It's nice to see so many familiar faces and then also some new voices also. I'm really smitten by having met people tonight like Stephen Johnson and Francis Vignotti. It's really amazing to be called upon to share my opinion as someone who might be valuable to speak upon the future. So thank you for having me here. Just a little bit about my husband and me. We opened Grand Lake Kitchen on Grand Avenue in Adams Point in 2012, and it was very small, like 12 seats at the counter and a couple tables outside. So it wasn't difficult to look popular right off the bat. And immediately we grew out of our space, and you know, while working in that small space, we thought about other parts of Oakland, and for whatever reason, Dimond really stuck out to us. At that time, people were, or not people, but you know, maybe people that we were associating with were more interested in Rockridge or Montclair or even Laurel at the time. That was kind of a hot ticket. But for whatever reason, Dimond really stood out to us. At that time, we were living at Maxwell Park, and we were seeing our regulars at the Lake Merritt location shopping at Farmer Joe's and wondering why we couldn't be closer to them. Having long waits again in our very, very small spot, it just seemed like the natural progression for us to go more into neighborhoods, and Dimond really stuck out to us. As far as how we got there, we ended up, we started looking, you know, we opened in 2012, it wasn't but like 2013 or 14 that we started looking at Dimond. And our space on Grand Avenue, the space next door became available to us. And so we started plans for expansion on that. And that took us to 2016. All during that time when we had a small amount of space, we had regulars. I don't know, I think many of you know Peggy and Helen from the neighborhood. They sold tomatoes to us and often traded us you know, tomatoes for meals at our restaurant, and they would come in for their date nights, and I would crash them and sit and drink wine and hang out with them and talk about sort of a future in the Dimond district and what that would look like for us. So while we were sort of occupied with our expansion in 2016, they let us know that the Full Moon Seafood restaurant had become available, and but quickly got snatched up and renovations started happening. Maybe it wasn't quick for those who drove by it every day, but for us to understand what was going on, then to know that our spot had been taken away was really soul crushing, only to find out that that ended up being our landlords and not a new tenant. So later on, our friends who are Dimond residents and our neighbors on Grand Avenue, the owners of Oaktown Spice Shop, they let us know that the landlords from our landlords now, and then a couple other people who had bought properties in the Dimond district were, I don't know, maybe it was even a DIA meeting or I can't remember what it was, but they came to present their spaces, and we talked to each one of them, and we decided that Dimond was truly the place for us. It was a terrible time. We had just come off of our expansion, and I was pregnant, and I remember climbing up ladders to look at the crawl spaces and everything else, but just really falling in love with that location, really finding that our time there had come. So all that time, I've actually never been a Dimond resident. We lived in Maxwell Park and Redwood Heights, so sort of just around, and currently we live in Oakmore, but Dimond has just always spoken to us in just a very vibrant and patriotic way. Everyone who lives in Dimond is really proud to be there, and the energy is so great. So for us to imagine, you know, for us to see our regulars already living there, it's a very like Oakland love stories, a sort of progression. You know, you're younger, you have money to spend and time to spend, and you're in Lake Merritt or, you know, Adams Point, as it were, and then all of a sudden you have a dog and need more space, or a family, and then you find yourself moving to different parts like Dimond, or, you know, the neighborhoods that are more friendly towards that sort of lifestyle. At any rate, so that's how we came to be. We've been looking there forever, but sort of had lost hope and got sidetracked. But when the space became available to us, we really fought for it. We love our landlords; they're excellent. They're really involved with making Dimond better, which is why I'm really happy to hear that there's movement in the progress for a business improvement district, because I think that would really help us in our unified effort to make Dimond better for a lot of different reasons, but just more in community and sort of as a unified voice. You know, we definitely never intended to have a almost 6,000 square foot restaurant coming from a 1,200 square foot restaurant. I know that, you know, grass is always greener and we wanted a bigger place, but it was really clear to us that, you know, even if rent was $1 a square foot, which it's not, that we would have to do a lot more than just bring our tables and chairs and hope that people would show up. If you guys have ever visited Grand Lake Kitchen, there are times when it's impossible to get in. And then there are times where it's seemingly kind of empty. So, you know, being in Dimond, we've learned a lot. It's you know, besides the banquet colors, the food and the staff, I mean, between one location and the other, they're incredibly different. They're almost not even related. So we have a lot of different hustles, like everyone does. Even pre-pandemic, we knew that we would have to do private dining because we've got that gorgeous dining room. We would have to do a little bit of larger scale catering. We have a second kitchen that helps to pay for that rent there. And since the pandemic, you know, we've had to do quite a few things. We now pack our own ice cream that we sell at both locations. It's a bottling facility for cocktails that we're now able to sell off premise. Private dining has come back and it's great. It's really lovely. A lot of people who have had larger scale, you know, like big weddings have now decided that they're still not comfortable with that, but need to get it done. And so it's kind of a great place to have your party of 20 to 60 people. So we're doing that. There are still things that are really difficult, you know, the lopsidedness in our business from day to day. You know, we still have QR codes. I hate it. Everyone hates it. They kill us on Yelp. I know, it's so annoying. But, you know, in order to staff a 6,000 square foot restaurant, we need like twice as many people as you see now. And you guys have heard of the workforce shortage and everything else. It's not exactly easy to staff. I mean, my staff now, they're children. They look a lot younger than 2 years ago. You know, that's all that's willing to work for us, which I don't know. I kind of love our children. They're great. They don't know how to sell you wine. In fact, sometimes they can't even carry the wine from the bar to you, but they're enthusiastic and they want to be there. And that's all I can really hope for. Even pre-pandemic, we hired neighborhood kids. That was we had a job fair, and we still have several people who we've met from the neighborhood who saw our posters, not, you know, not anything digital or online, who came in and interviewed, and they're some of our best employees now. I guess all the same, so I mean, that's a lot of context. I don't know, it's a little late in the evening for any more context than that, but I just wanted to share with you sort of our heart and happiness to be here. What we're looking for in the future, I mean, we're really in it. Like, even with all the hardships that we've faced, there have been some days where we've absolutely been crushed, to which, you know, obviously I feel terrible that we haven't been more on top of it, but I'm just like so grateful that there's so much need for us in the neighborhood. And further, there are people who are coming to Dimond from, you know, like from places like Castro Valley and San Leandro. Those people came to Grand Lake Kitchen on Lake Merritt, and I'm so happy that they're coming here now. The parking's better. There's more space. It's not like, you know, the roads aren't blocked. It's just a lot more friendly for people. We have 2 outdoor patios for your babies, your dogs, or whatever. We really are hoping that more like businesses, or actually just more businesses in general, continue to open around us. That's the best thing that can happen. You know, we're really proud of our position and our ability to be in the community, and we're also incredibly sensitive to the community that's already there. We don't want to disrupt or be another one of those, you know, gentrifying horrible stories that we really try not to be. We try to listen to our community and understand what it is they need. Our prices are a little bit lower here. We have different meals, more family oriented. You know, we try our best to really be a contributing part of this community rather than a detracting part or something that, you know, fast forwards it into something that it doesn't need to be. So hearing about all the history is incredibly important to us, and meeting everyone who cares so deeply about it is really important. Again, we would love to see like less vacancies. You know, I went and had a wonderful dinner at Bombero the other night. I could hardly get in. Actually, my husband and I stood, and it was lovely. We were so happy for that too. You know, we don't shrink at, you know, they were busier there than our restaurant, and we're not mad at that at all. You know, it was delicious. It was fun. It was vibrant, and it just made me feel safe to walk around late at night, even by myself. You know, it just, you know, whatever we can all do to make this a vibrant and safe community without sacrificing any of its, you know, diversity or you know, special spark we would love to have come happen. We definitely believe in keeping Dimond clean. We have contributed in ways that we can. We would love to even try and find more volunteer effort just through our channels. It's hard having a small business. I don't want to be a downer, but City of Oakland is really not that supportive. I really feel opening in 2012, it was like a really beautiful thing. People were so helpful to me. I was so, you know, like inexperienced, and they just said, we want Oakland to be like Paris. Come fill out your permits and we'll take care of overnight expedited you know, plan checking for you, because we want all these things to happen. It was really beautiful, and now I just feel like kind of left in the dirt. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to do this without a permit. I don't feel good, but what are the alternatives? I don't have the bandwidth to take on this city, and it just needs to be done, you know. So I would love for us to band together with the, you know, DIA, whatever bid we come up with, you know, merchants associations, the neighborhood council, whatever we can do to sort of have a unified voice to speak for what we need here. It's, you know, political will is like so hard to come by. We really have to fight for it. Like, I've spent a lot of time in front of different city council members. I really appreciate that time, but at the end of the day, it's like we have to fight for it. You know what I mean? Like, nothing is given to us for free. And as a small business, it's incredibly discouraging, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, Kelly's not wrong when she says she's been broken into 1 million times. Your windows are broken. And, you know, as business owners, we choose what we're going to be upset about, and we can't be upset about everything. Between taking care of 100 employees and all of their issues, you know, I'm not going to let a broken window or break-in bum me out. I don't have the bandwidth for that, but it would be so great to have a little bit of community support in order to just carry on or want to invest more in the neighborhood, which at this point, to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure that I do, but I would like to. Is that too much? Or, I mean, does anyone have any questions? Or, sorry, I just want to share as much as possible, but, you know, again, we're past our time and I don't want to go on too many tangents.
No, thank you, May, for sharing your perspective. Any questions come in, Jay, that
not
comments?
Questions directed to May. There are some comments, and maybe folks who might want to stay on for a few minutes after, if there's additional questions around the bid, we can continue that discussion. It might be nice to just acknowledge one compliment or one comment or compliment here. It says, y'all are to be congratulated. Neighborhood organizations are the basis of democracy. And as several speakers have pointed out, if you're not going to do it yourself, it probably won't be done. Yes, a small town inside a growing city that meets a basic human need of scale.
Awesome.
And
Those
that's
sound like
all we
great,
have. Yeah.
great comments to end on, unless folks want to stick around for the couple of questions. But thank you all, everyone, for organizing, and for the panelists for coming and speaking and sharing your stories. I'm sure there'll be more to come, and everyone visit our local businesses in the Dimond.
Thank you all. Thanks to Stephen for speaking up. I really, that's a valuable connection.
Thank you so much, everyone. This is a fantastic discussion, and thank you for everyone's contributions and ongoing work to make our neighborhood better. And if anyone wants to stick around and talk about the bid, we do have a couple questions if that's of interest to folks. Let me see if I can go review these real quick. There was one question, and Ryan, this may be for you.
Jay,
Sorry?
Jay, can I just say something and I'm going to sign off?
Oh, please, please.
Oh.
Please go ahead.
Jay, I want to thank Heather, Ryan, and Jay. Thank you for inviting me. I feel honored. And anytime once I get out of, my therapy for my hip, I will be there to help you. But thank you again. Nothing but the best for you. And I like the young faces. You're my future. Okay. I'm signing off. Thank you for a wonderful discussion. Good night, everybody.
See you, Francis.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Two quick questions, and Ryan, this may be directed toward you or anyone else who can speak to it. I know our council person secured the funds for the feasibility study. Has the process started already?
The feasibility study process. I'm assuming that's the question. The process, so it's a lengthy process. We will, the money has been allocated. We're still in the process of the funds being released from the City of Oakland Department of Economic and Workforce Development. We are forming right now an initial steering committee, which will be comprised primarily of property owners in the commercial district. Being that that's the group that would be assessed for the business improvement district. And then that group will in turn issue some version of a request for proposal for a consultant to complete the feasibility study. So it's definitely a multi-step process. The funding has been secured. We're working to get the funding released for the feasibility study, and identifying folks who are interested in being part of the steering committee that will hire the consultant.
Okay. Let me see. I think there was one more. Let me see. This is an interesting question. What happens to the DIA's role in the neighborhood if there is a Dimond BID in place?
Yeah, that's it's a really good question. I think there certainly exist community organizations or communities in which there's both a business improvement district and other community-based organizations that are filling a specific niche or a specific need, or representing a specific voice or perspective. I think that I think that the Dimond Improvement Association, just like any organization, exists to fill a need. And if some of those needs are assumed by another organization, then I think the Dimond Improvement Association as an organization would need to decide what need is it filling, what need is not being met by other existing or future organizations. I mean, the Dimond Improvement Association currently consists primarily, though not exclusively, but primarily of Dimond residents. And so that's at least, sorry, on the board. So that's that's a different perspective than say like commercial district property owners. So my guess would be that there will still be a role for the DIA, in a future Dimond district.
Awesome, thank you. I think that is mostly about it for questions and comments this evening. Again, a heartfelt thank you to our panelists for your time and valuable insight into what's going on and also what has been going on or has happened in years past. Really great perspective and interesting to understand, your past so that you can better understand where you are and where you're going. So any final thoughts or comments? You can probably just come off mute at this point.
I just want to say hi to everybody. I've lived in the Dimond for 20 years and just retired. And so now I have time and bandwidth and want to find what are my ways into being involved. I ran a labor union, so I have some skills around governance and organizing people to take action.
If I may go out on a limb, you're hired.
I'm happy to start with picking up trash.
Awesome.
It's a concrete task.
Thank you. Any other thoughts, comments, folks?
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Janani Ramachandran. I live in the lower Dimond area, but have been to all of the establishment discussed today and excited to partner with you all to help this business district become a reality. Yeah, would love to be part of the process and support.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Final thoughts, comments? I know we're pretty much at time now.
Yeah, thank you for putting this together. It's always great to see faces and hear voices. I think every time that we do that, something is inevitably accomplished. So thank you for making the time, everyone. And it's nice to see that so many people care so deeply about Dimond. I mean, it's such a worthwhile cause. So anything we can do at Grand Lake Kitchen or David and I can do as people, we're very happy to participate in any way we possibly can. So thank you for all the work you do as volunteers and for kind of shepherding us through all of this.
Absolutely, I second that.
All right, I think we are at time. Again, thank you to our panelists and thank you to all of our guests and attendees tonight for dialing in, and we hope to keep the conversation going. Thank you.